everyone. My name is Jeremy, creator and co-host of the Star Trek Wars podcast.
Oh, hi, Tandy. Hi, Tandy. My name is Jeremy. I'm an important cultural sex toy from the past.
And welcome to Lower Deck Star Trek Wars Edition. Joining me tonight is my co-host and co-life partner, Chelsea. Hi, Chelsea.
Hi, Jeremy.
Welcome to Star Trek Wars, your official bootleg Star Trek podcast. The episode we're reviewing tonight will be rated on a scale from 1 to 10 by us, the co-hosts, and you guys in the Star Trek Wars Council left a rating on our Facebook page. If you wish to join the council and have your vote counted for next week's episode, season finale episode, head over to that page. You can find us by searching for Star Trek Wars. The council should pop up right at the top. There you can rate the episode yourself and can also leave a comment that'll be potentially read on air. It's a great community. We're all in there, very active, and love talking Trek with you. And personally speaking, very excited to talk about Lower Decks coming off of our post-Nemesis funk that we just recorded. All right, let's get into it now. Star Trek Lower Deck, Season 2, Episode 9, Wejdouche, or trying the Discovery pronunciation, Wejdouche.
Either way, it sounds like a Rammstein song. Rammstein, whatever.
It does. Written by Catherine Lynn, directed by Bob Suarez. Boimler tries to find a bridge buddy while the USS Cerritos crew has downtime during a long warp trip. General thoughts before we delve in, Chelsea?
I really liked it. It's pretty generalized.
She liked it.
What were yours?
I really liked it too.
Oh!
All right, before we get into the specifics, I wanted to hear about your Callback Corner in a segment we like to call Chelsea's Callback Corner. And of course, Chelsea, you are newer to the universe of Star Trek. So, of course, there's always 1,000 Easter eggs and callbacks in each episode. And we thought we'd have someone who doesn't register all the time everything that's coming at them and maybe give us what you caught this week as a novice Star Trek fan.
Okay, were there a lot?
No.
Okay, good, because I only have 4.
Okay, good.
And I think I'm cheating on a few, but that's fine. Boimler's...
Wouldn't be the first time.
Whoa. All right. All right, sir. Boimler's outfit when he goes into Tendi and Tana's hangout, I mean, that's like straight Kirk, right?
Yes. From Star Trek 5.
But he mentioned that, so I wasn't sure if that was...
He's wearing it, and they're climbing the same rock that Kirk is also.
And he fell into the tree.
Yeah, he's wearing Spock boots.
Yeah. So that whole thing there. I don't know if this is a stretch or not, but Freeman's shirt just saying Ritos. That reminds me of the Discovery shirts that just say disco.
Absolutely.
Okay. Sweet. Nailed it. The people running around in the weird Victorian costumes. Mm-hmm. And the people running around with the weird helmets and the giant Q-tip stick things. Oops, sorry. I don't know what those are, but
definitely
they seem familiar to me.
Yes, that's from the Icarus Factor, Next Generation Season 2 with Riker. That's what he used to play against his father that slept with Dr. Pulowski.
Oh, gross. That's all I have.
Okay, very good. I think some of my favorite ones that you didn't mention is there's a mention of Kor on the Klingon ship. Kor,
there is?
Yes.
How did I miss that?
Yeah, the young ensign Ma was trying to sound like he knows his history, so he's talking about the battle with Kor and Kor's Targ.
Oh, I didn't even pick up that he was saying Kor.
And yep, of course, Kor is from the original series and 3 episodes of Deep Space Nine.
Yep.
They're also in the Starship Clue that Mariner and Freeman were playing. He did it with in the bulkhead. The weapon of choice in this was sniper rifle that can shoot through walls, which is a shout out to Deep Space Nine.
Yes.
Final season Field of Fire with Esri, where she brings back Duran because of that.
Crap.
And Stratagema. Stratagema was a game playing in Next Generation between... There's a notorious Stratagema player that went up against Data in a classic bout of strategy. And Data
Is
busted
that like
them up.
Stratego?
It's a lot of like wires connected to your fingertips while you wiggle your fingers around in a strategy way.
Yeah, that sounds really complex.
All right, why don't you hit us with your pros then, Chelsea? Pros?
The Vulcans this week were hilarious. Like they're never, in my opinion, a super fun race or species, but they were exceptionally dry. They were basically robots.
Yeah, it's not very often we get to see Vulcans just around other Vulcans on an old Vulcan ship. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a rare glance at, and it's as dry as you think it would be.
Yeah, so awful. Like their idea of an outburst kills me. But it does make sense. It's like, no wonder you guys can't stand humans. We're like super emotional. She was literally like, my instinct. And he's like, these outbursts will not be tolerated. Like, oh, okay. I'm assuming that Talen is going to be going to the Cerritos, maybe.
Seems like it.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
I would like to see the dynamic between her and Mariner because that's going to be a shit show. The pet Targ was adorable with his little like ragdoll toy that he was throwing around. Also, they're a lot cuter in animation. So, but
Then Commander Cruise's Targ and Star Trek 3.
it's so slimy looking. Basically, Boimler screwing everything up this week was a huge win for me. Accidentally fat shaming Kayshawn, amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. Also feel like getting to see Kayshawn just get super emotional very quickly and not listen to reason is pretty funny.
Storm out.
Yeah. Like, do you know how hard it is to lose weight when you can replicate any food? And then Shax's freaking out on Boimler was perfect. Do you think that him and Kira know each other?
Oh, it's crazy you mentioned that because maybe, I mean, he's older than Kira.
Yeah, but he fought the resistance.
And a lot of people might say like, well, that's a bit, of over dramatics from old Shax when you're asking him about Bajor. But we have proof of Bajorans don't like to be asked what they did for hobbies during the occupation. And speaking of Kira, this happened in Deep Space Nine Season 4. Kira handled it much cooler because Kira is an awesome character. But here is a clip of, Bajorans don't like to be asked about that kind of stuff.
I guess I don't have much of an imagination.
Of course you do. Everyone does. Didn't you play make-believe when you were a child?
Yeah, I used to make believe the Cardassians would stop killing the Bajorans and just go away.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so they don't like that. So I would like to think so. Maybe he could have been in the Shakaar Resistance with her. That would be a cool shout out.
Yeah, they just seem like each other's people. Because Kira wasn't a ton of fun for most of DS9 either.
No, it took her a lot of years to lighten up a bit. That was Season 4 clip I just played, and she's still trying. Like, she's nicer, but she's still trying to loosen up a bit.
Yeah. Packlids are always a highlight to me, just because they're so dumb.
I do love their red alarm.
That was my next pro.
Red alarm.
Thanks a lot. I love how exasperated.
That's it? You don't want to say anything about the red alarms?
Well, you just did.
I just said the sound it makes, which is great.
And I'm still on this one pro. I haven't even finished it. The Klingon just being so just done with the Packlids not understanding that a bomb is single use. I feel like Klingons usually they don't keep their cool, but they don't get super exasperated. And this guy was just freaking done with it.
Yeah, you can't use a bomb. The one bomb given for target practice to test to see if it works.
I also love that they just called them boomers. Obviously, as you mentioned, red alarm. It just sounds so absolutely like a lazy teenager. Just like, red alarm. Red alarm. It's like, oh my gosh. The Vulcan ship was really cool. It was also huge. I never realized how big the Vulcan ships were, or if that's a actual scale.
That's the thing with Star Trek that I'm really digging about Lower Decks in this episode too, is the scale is always so out of whack on Star Trek because they just had models and stuff. But we actually get to see some of this some of these ships, like the Bird of Prey is smaller, and seeing that Vulcan ship, which is gorgeous, and just seeing how big it is, I think that's definitely one of my pros too. Just seeing all this stuff in scale is awesome.
I mean, is it in scale?
It is. Vulcans have some big ships.
Why? Like, that thing was huge. I don't know. It was cool, but I also don't really understand why it needs to be that large.
No,
but
but
hey.
I do love those Vulcan designs too. That goes back to like Enterprise and stuff with like the rings, the ring warp around the ship and stuff. Like, it harkens back to the old designs, but yeah, it's a big ship. Gorgeous.
I guess Vulcans are just size queens.
Red alarm.
I really like that Ransom seems to be like warming up to Boimler and sees his potential. Even though he's not like really in your face with it, I think he has like a soft spot for Boimler. Which
true.
is interesting because Ransom's like the manly man, right? Like the stud, the dude's dude. And Boimler's like kind of a nerdy, sensitive. So I think it's interesting that Ransom has recognized something in him that is worth like kind of, I don't want to say fighting for, but like encouraging. I kind of like that dynamic.
Yeah, that's something to keep an eye on because that's a few times this year now. Ransom has noticed Boimler.
Yeah. And then the ending scene with the lower decks Borg drones, just kind of sleeping. I kept expecting them to like do something like maybe even just like an eye twitch, but nothing. And that made it even better.
No, that just might be what that looks like for years before anything happens. And I almost got hypnotized to it. I love that just ambiance. Like maybe I want to be a Borg drone because it's just so cool and calm.
I feel like
collective.
It's probably like having mono. You just sleep really good until somebody wakes you up. And then you're just kind of like spicy and angry about it and you do something crazy. And then you just sleep really good until someone wakes you up again.
It's probably a lot like that.
Why are there ocular implants different colors? Is there a reason behind that? Or is it just like, oh, well, we ran out of red, so you get a green one?
That's probably what it is. Yeah.
They just have like a junk drawer of like ocular implants and they just grab one.
It's like we have 3 Borg costumes. We got to make them look different. So you're the red one, you're the green one.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure if there was like an actual like scientific Star Trek fact behind that.
You get to be the guy with the extended arm with a little hand.
Oh, God. That's all I have for pros. What do you have?
Okay. I think it's kind of funny. On the Klingon ship, even Klingon lower decks have a towel guy, like just walking around in a towel.
I didn't even notice.
I noticed it the second time around. I didn't notice it the first time. There's just a towel guy walking around the Klingon lower decks. Ma was a good character. He's essentially the Boimler of the Chita.
Yeah.
And a beautiful bird of prey. I love the bird of preys, and just like the Vulcan ship, the bird of prey looks so good. And I love the animation this year on lower decks. And it was cool seeing his growth. His fight scene with Captain Dork was legitimately like moving and unsettling when it happened. I thought it was a powerful scene and it was really well done. I'm curious if we'll see him again maybe next week. Like you said, the Cheval is a beautiful Vulcan ship. I thought T'Lyn was amazing. Everyone has noticed. Well, then I hope they notice how unconcerned I am about their observations. She's out of control.
Her outbursts.
Yeah, she's definitely the Mariner of the Cheval. So right down to her sarcastic Vulcan salute at the end. So I don't know. She might get along with Mariner. I hope they do, because her reassignment to a Starfleet vessel at the end has to mean the Cerritos. I don't know if we'll see that in the finale or the premiere, but she's coming to Cerritos, and I can't wait for her arrival. And I'd like to think that her and Mariner would get along great.
I hope there's not some weird romantic interest between her and like Boimler.
I don't see some romantic interest between her and Mariner, but
I still think she's going to be way too dry for Mariner.
it'll be interesting. It might be like the classic, like they fight for a while, then they're best friends.
Yeah, because like a Vulcan Mariner is still like a Boimler in Starfleet.
True. And of course, you already mentioned it, but our boy Kayshawn, he's so delightful.
I took a little Temerian at the academy.
Oh, Anzac and Vila as children.
Right. Carno in the forest with Myra.
It is hard to lose weight when you can replicate any food you want.
No, that's not what I meant.
And he's absolutely right.
So sassy.
How difficult would that be? Super
Yeah.
difficult. Shax with his fighting fascism is a full-time job, which is great. Bajorans don't like being asked about their hobbies during the occupation. The Klingon High Council was mentioned twice this week, so please let that be foreshadowing for what could be the first real return of a Deep Space Nine character to the Star Trek universe next week. The head of the council, Chancellor Martok.
Oh my God, please.
They mentioned it twice that they're going
Please.
to the High Council.
I need Martok. I need him.
It would be so good. And JG has been on Lord X before, so he's got his Zoom set up.
Right.
Just
Do
let
it.
him be Martok.
Do it.
Captain Freeman continues to be super pleasant, I think, and a good captain, which is making me very, very nervous for her.
Yeah, she's being a good mom, too.
Yeah, and there was a lot of like foreshadowing. There's been a lot of foreshadowing this season for Captain Freeman.
What? I haven't picked up on any of that.
They're making her very likable. A lot of times, especially early on this season, just so they hammer it home, but then stop talking about it, is her wanting to look good so she can get to a new ship.
Oh, okay. So, like, she'll just get promoted.
I hope so. Which makes me want to double down on our early predictions for this year. I don't think this season ends with Freeman as captain of the Cerritos.
Okay. I also don't think it's Ransom, though.
Probably not. And I hope it's due to promotion to a nicer ship like they alluded, but man, I'm a little concerned for her safety with all the stuff between her and Mariner. Like, they're in such a good place. It could be just as simple as they're in a good place now. She's being put on another ship.
Yeah.
Good for her, maybe bad for Mariner, and they're actually sad about it. I hope that's the way it's going. I don't want them... I don't want Captain Freeman to die in the finale.
I like literally never thought that they were going to kill Freeman. So
I didn't either.
aren't you a Debbie Downer?
I didn't either
Like, damn,
until
dude.
this episode. It's just with like, I really enjoyed our time together. Me too. You know, the finales hit hard.
Yeah, but not. This isn't Discovery. Like, shit.
It's Cerritos. Do you have any cons?
I think my only con, which is really nitpicky, is the fact that, like, why is it that people have a hard time, like, naming Vulcans anything that isn't a piggyback off of another Vulcan? Like, the first, like, well-known Vulcan was Spock. So why do we have, like, Tuvok and T'Pol and T'Lyn? Like, what the fuck? Like, come up with something else. I don't know. It's nitpicky, but it irritates the hell out of me. Like, you have unlimited creative freedom here.
Ooh, that's not the Vulcan way, though.
Spock. Jeremy, Spock.
And, you know, the founding father of Vulcan logic is Sirach.
Right. So we should keep naming them T'Pol and Tuvok and T'Lyn and whatever, T'Tammy, whatever you want to name them. T'Pau. I don't know. I'm just over it. Like, branch out. Do something interesting and unique, please. I'm begging you.
T'Pau sounds like the end of the O'Reilly jingle.
Oh my God, it does. That's like my only con. And like I said, it's nitpicky. And it's not even directly like
It's just a
aimed
Star Trek
at Lower
thing.
Decks. Because I think I've had this complaint before when we started watching Enterprise. I'm like, why? Why are they all like, it's just, I'm so over it.
Fair enough. That's more cons than I actually have.
So you have 0?
I have 0 cons that I could really
Nice.
think of. Yeah. And before we get into what you guys thought at home, we thought we would do our 3 Trekcommendations. And this, of course, is the segment where I look at this week's episode and think of 3 Star Trek shows that it reminds me of. Super hard weeks like this where it's all basically just Lower Decks, self-contained, not a lot of huge episode influences. And I will mention the title, the series, and Chelsea, you can try and guess the synopsis and why I picked it this week. Could be hard. Could be very difficult this week. But I have tried to get out of the next gen TOS bubble. So I am going to start with number 3. There's an episode called Hope and Fear, and it is the Voyager season 4 finale.
Yikes. Just go back to TNG.
And if you do have any questions regarding it, just remember, probably can't help you too much.
Did I watch this episode?
I don't know if you've seen it.
Is it a 2-parter?
Nope. But there's a reason why I picked it, and it's not a big reason. It's a very small reason, but it made me think of it.
Hope and Fear?
Hope and Fear.
Like, honestly, it's a Voyager episode, so it doesn't matter what it's about. It just doesn't matter. Because it was probably given a 3 out of 10 anyway.
Well, I picked this episode because of when Boimler's going around trying to find people to latch onto. The first time he goes to Mariner and Captain Freeman, they're in the holodeck yelling at each other and shooting targets. Pew, 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 shooting target practice. That's the same kind of holodeck program that Seven and Janeway are running at the beginning of the season 4 finale, Hope and Fear, like shooting little moving targets.
Okay, that makes sense.
There's also a next gen episode where with Guinan and Picard, or maybe it's Guinan and Worf. It's Guinan and someone doing that, and Guinan's pretty badass with it.
I believe it.
Yeah.
She's mysterious.
This episode, though, scored a 6.91 out of 10 at Star Trek Wars, which placed it at 264th out of 716. So, not a bad episode.
Is that the highest ranking Voyager episode?
It is not.
Okay, just a fair question, though.
Trekcommendation number 2. Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
Season 5, Episode 21, Soldiers of the Empire, which is a reference even mentioned in this episode.
I did watch this one, right?
I'm sure you've seen it. But you might be able to guess why I picked it just based on the title.
This isn't the one where Nog gets his leg blown off, is it?
It is not.
Okay. That's later.
That's final season.
Okay, that's what I thought. Soldiers of the Empire? So it's something to do with Klingons.
Yes.
Is this when Dax runs off to... Okay.
Season 2.
All right. Who's the main character? Worf?
Martok.
Martok! Sorry. He's so great.
Martok.
Is this when they trick the... There's like you think that Martok's dead, but he's not dead. Crap, that's like super convoluted in my head.
That's super convoluted because that actually takes place over a span of like a season and a half. Because
Oh my God, really?
You first see the character of Martok.
It's not even him.
No, but we don't know that forever.
Yeah.
When you first see Martok, it's in the season 4 premiere of Deep Space Nine, The Way of the Warrior, which is where Worf premieres.
Yeah.
And you don't know that until season 5 even, that was a changeling. But that's not this.
Who's the second main character?
Worf.
Of course it is. Where does it take place?
Well, that brings us to exactly why I picked it, Chelsea.
Is it on the moon where they're like fighting?
Nope, this takes place almost exclusively on a Klingon bird of prey following a Klingon crew around, which is why I picked this episode.
I don't know that I've seen it.
Maybe not. That's why I picked it, just because we really don't see the inner workings of a Klingon crew. So this is kind of the first time you see that. This being once General Martok is found on the prison camp you're talking about, he's brought back. He's put back on duty. He's given his own bird of prey. And this is the first time he's on it. And he gets his own crew. He brings Worf as his first officer. Jadzia goes there. And you see all of his crew and everything. And you kind of follow Martok and wondering if he still has PTSD, if he's afraid to actually engage in the Dominion.
I think I do remember this. Because doesn't Worf call him on it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
But it all works out. But I picked it just because we're seeing the life of a Klingon crew on a bird of prey.
Makes sense.
And it's an amazing episode. It had an average score of a 7.53 at Star Trek Wars, placing it at 176th
Nice.
on our all-time list. And finally, It's a Next Generation episode, season 7, episode 15, called Lower Decks.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Are you serious? They named a whole ass show after an episode of TNG.
Depending if you think you know what this episode is about, and you do because you've seen it, but you might not remember the title. But there's an episode called Lower Decks in the final season of Next Gen.
All right, who's the main character?
Not the senior crew.
So the Lower Decks.
Yes.
Or is it just like a day in the life kind of episode?
Kinda. It's about Lower Decks and how they don't really know. Like when there's a huge situation going on, you're following these lower deckers where they don't really understand. You have a nurse. You have a guy that's sucking up to Riker. Kind of how the guy... Well, kind of how everybody was sucks up to Ransom, you know.
Okay.
But the biggest one is Ensign Sito, who is a Bajoran.
I remember. She dies.
That's right. We don't know for certain, but yeah, she
did.
She goes on a
Yeah, Picard just like sends her to her death. Yep.
basically
No,
is
she
sent
did.
to her death. There was a point on Deep Space Nine where they were thinking about actually bringing her back.
From the dead?
You never see her body. She goes into
Yeah.
Cardassian space
And dies.
They never find her, so they assume she's dead. So Deep Space Nine were considering maybe finding her.
Oh, okay.
Never did though, so she's probably dead. But amazing episode. She was very
I
close
really
to
liked
Worf.
it. Yeah.
And at the end, like
Because she was training with Worf, wasn't
Yeah.
she? Right. Okay.
Yep. And she was part of the Wesley Crusher Brigade that with that mess up at Starfleet that killed a guy, which is why Picard brought her on to the Enterprise to give her a fair chance. So she has it out with Picard and Worf in this.
Yeah,
It's
that's
super
coming
good.
back. Because like she's like blindfolded or something when she's
Yes,
training with
with
Worf.
Worf.
Yep. Okay.
Yep,
I like
to,
that
to
episode.
fight. But
Yes.
then Worf, she's like, as soon as she takes out the blindfold, she's like, this isn't fair. And he's like, yes, you should be able to say that when things aren't fair. Speak your mind. Things aren't always fair. That's the test.
That is a good episode.
Very good episode. It actually had an average score of an 8.84. So out of
Nice.
716 episodes, it is 39th all
Nice.
time. And it
Deserves
should
it.
be. Wonderful episode. And I put on the list because this episode of Lower Decks was Lower Decks doing a Lower Decks episode featuring more Lower Decks.
Oof, that's a lot to wrap your head around.
That's right. So that's what we thought about that. Let's get into what you guys thought about the episode before we rate this sucker. Will Flora says, holy crap, this is an actual show with its own plot lines. And all the movie gags this week were great. I'm excited that they're adding a rowdy Vulcan to the mix, and it seems they're hitting a stride that we've only seen here and there through the previous 2 seasons. Shaq's going nuts when mentioning Bajor was hilarious, and I almost rolled off the couch when they did the final Borg Lower Decks gag. 10 Hawaiian moons.
Nice.
Tony D. Simone says, not quite as funny as most other episodes, but I think that was intentional and worked in this context. Very clever premise. Also, doesn't the final scene with the Borg remind you of those Star Trek ambiance videos on YouTube? Yes, we need like a 10-hour Borg cube ambiance video because we have that for like Next Gen.
What?
Even more so, we have like Next Gen Sick Bay, Next Gen
What?
Enterprise.
What
Next
is
Gen
this?
Bridge, just ambiance.
Seriously?
Beep, beep, beep. With that warp core humming. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
So calming.
Just when I like feel like I'm starting to understand y'all, you come at me with stuff like that.
And finally, Wade Fraser says, another easy 10, another one. I'm not sure what to say here, so here are some incoherent ramblings. Talin is joining the Cerritos, clearly. Question is, will it be next week or next season? This is the Pac-led ship, Pac-led. Red alarm. Red alarm. Fighting fascism is a full-time job. Every Borg drone in a cube is Lower Decks. Genius. And I want a Ritos t-shirt. Great news, Wayne. Mike McMahon just tweeted they are available at the Star Trek shop.
No way.
Yeah, get your own Ritos shirt. All right, let's rate this sucker. Chelsea, what do you give it?
I'm giving this another 10, and I feel like Lower Decks is cheapening what it means to be a 10. I don't know.
How dare
in like
you?
the best way possible,
Mike
but still,
McMahon and Lower Decks,
it's like, holy crap. People are just going to think I'm just giving everything 10s nowadays.
That is your third 10 of the season and
know.
completely third 10 in a row.
Yeah.
I think very warranted. I'm so close to wanting to give it a 10 too. I'm going to give it a 9. I'm going to give it 9. Maybe I should have ranked this a 10, but maybe I'm waiting for that classic
Freeman
juicy
death?
finale of Freeman dying. Luckily, we know if Freeman dies, she'll be back in episode 3 of season 3.
We have
so
something
it's
to look
fine.
forward to, folks.
Yeah. Death is not forever in Star Trek. She'll be fine.
Just don't ask her about it.
Although I think it would be much more interesting to see her on another ship.
Yeah,
in
I would
season
love
3.
to see Mariner try to navigate a captain that's actually not going to let her get away with
A new
everything.
captain. And I'd like to see how Freeman does
Yes.
on an actual big ship.
And I'd like to see who that captain is, and can it please be like a Star Trek alumni?
Okay. I would love that. Captain Chakotay. Oh, no, that's Voyager. That's Voyager.
Yeah. Also, he's really busy right now.
Oh, he is. He's very busy doing
Yeah,
Prodigy.
everybody wants Robert Beltran.
That's a shame.
It really is, and I don't see it.
Oh, he's my first pick, but we can't have him. So
Darn.
I'm glad that we're getting literally
Guess
anybody
we'll have
else
to
but
settle.
him.
Ooh, what did Nog end up doing?
Well, unfortunately, with
Did he
that,
die?
the character of Nog
I know about.
is probably a lieutenant at this time. We just can't get him voiced, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Yeah.
I wasn't asking about the
No. But
actor.
the character Nog was promoted to lieutenant in the final episode of DS9, so he would be at least still a lieutenant at this point. Maybe not a captain, though. But we have seen Captain Nog in Deep Space Nine in the episode The Visitor, with Cisco being pulled back and forth through Jake's life. We see a Captain Nog. So I think for sure the character Nog will be a captain. I think this would be too soon. But I like where your head's at. Like, who else? Because in the books, Esri is a captain, and I know you won't like that. And it's still way too soon, because this is just a couple years after DS9, so she's maybe a lieutenant.
And still all annoying.
And all annoying. Bashir's not to be a captain.
Nah,
O'Brien's,
he's got to head up area
Yeah.
or section 31.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what I want to see.
That's what he's doing.
We'll see Bashir in season 2 of Picard as head of section 31. I want so badly.
I can't think of anybody else that would be.
Not from DS9.
No.
Yeah, because O'Brien's not listed and is teaching at the academy.
Yeah.
Worf. Probably Worf is, well, no, because we see Worf. Worf is still on the Enterprise for some reason in Nemesis, which was a year ago, and probably is captaining the Enterprise E after Picard leaves to take care of the Romulan situation here in a couple years with the supernova.
Well, we'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll see.
As long as it's not a Voyager character,
I think we've got plenty
I'll
of
keep
them
watching.
so far. All right. So, how did Lower Decks do this week? Using the combined average score of ourselves, you guys who voted at home, this week's episode comes to with an average score of a 9.4, Chelsea, making that
Holy crap.
the number 1 episode of Lower Decks, period.
That's what's up.
And I like to say in this, we talked about this a bit last week. I don't like to mesh the new Trek with the old Trek yet because it's still just new. So in the list of all of our new Trek episodes, that makes it the number 2 episode of all new Trek.
What's the number 1 episode again?
We've never mentioned it here. Is this a juicy exclusive? Should we mention what the number 1 episode of new Trek is
it
currently at Star
Discovery?
Trek Wars? It is Discovery.
Okay, then mention it.
It is Discovery season 2 episode, If Memory Serves, with Captain Pike going back to the
Crystal Mines?
yeah.
Oh, it's so
No,
good.
not Crystal Mines. It's the where Spock and Burnham go back to the planet that's from the Cage premiere with the guys with the big heads, and you have to see the Cage. but it's a big Pike episode.
So that's not the one where he finds out his future.
No, that's a couple episodes later, I believe. But this is number 2. Number 2 prior to that was Picard Remembrance. No, not Remembrance. Nepenthe with Troy and Riker was number 2 on our list.
I did love that episode.
Well, that's number 3 now because this is number 2. See?
Naturally, Jonathan Frakes has a hand in both. It doesn't affect him any.
And that'll do it for this week.
Nice.
Star Trek Wars is available on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and anywhere else fine podcasts are heard. And you can find us on Twitter at the Star Trek Wars. If you want any merchandise, head over to redbubble.com or follow the link attached to this episode. And make sure to give our main podcast a listen, as we have already covered every single episode of Star Trek ever released and are currently running through all the Trek movies. We just released our review of Nemesis, and Discovery starts next month.
Next month?
Next month.
Why did I think I had to wait till January? This is exciting.
November 18th.
Oh my God.
Discovery starts, and Jordan and Jocelyn will be doing the coverage on that. Prodigy starts here in a few weeks. We don't have any plans on that yet, but we have some exciting ideas. If we can make it work, we'd love to cover it. It's just a question of scheduling. Mm-hmm. Chelsea, always a pleasure. Thanks for doing this with me. You and I will be back next week for the season finale of Lower Decks. And then, who knows, you might not hear from us again till Lower Decks returns and Strange New Worlds next year.
That's in January.
No.
God, I suck at this.
Nothing is in January. Discovery should go through February.
So then Strange New Worlds in February?
Picard Season 2 will start in February.
Okay.
And presumably maybe Strange New Worlds after that, followed by Lower Decks Season 3.
So
But Strange New Worlds at this point does not have an air date, just next year.
why are they doing this? This is crap.
I don't know. But there's a lot to be excited for,
I'm
Chelsea.
so excited about it. Why?
For starters, next week's season finale of Lower Decks.
Yes.
We'll see you there,
Yes.
true believers.
Woo!
All aboard the hype train.
I don't even know what that means. True believers.
Stanley has nothing to do
This
with
is a cult.
Yeah, that's
Welcome.
Marvel. It's fine. Good day.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to Star Trek Wars.